The price of chicken has increased, and in some instances, consumers are being asked to add an extra $3 to purchase meat. This is the second price increase in a few weeks, as prices increased in April as a result of the increase in feed prices. And so with me to talk about this is the president of the Broiler Growers Association, Mr. Sudesh Ramkisoon. Mr. Ramkisoon, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Thank you for having me this morning. Good morning to your viewers and good morning to the host this morning.
Now, Mr. Ramkisoon, some people have been saying that they have seen that price increase in chicken when they went to the supermarket recently. I mean, when was the price increase implemented?
It's difficult to say when it was implemented, but I was at a supermarket visiting one of my friends while he was receiving his new order of chicken, and he told me that he was paying around $16 a pound now. So when the groceries are paying $16 a pound, when they do their markup to cover their cost and so on, it could be anywhere between 17 and $19 a pound at the grocery, which is, when you think about it, very high. Imagine a minimum wage worker has to work more than an hour to pay for a pound of chicken.
Now, Mr. Ramkisoon, when you say a pound of chicken, you're talking about the wholesale price, or you're talking about what you're paying at the pluck shops?
No, the pluck shops are currently paying around $9 to $10 per pound, depending on the amount of birds that they take, and then they have to do the plucking and the gutting, and then dress the birds. So the pluck shops are probably around the same price. They are probably charging around $17 to $19 a pound for chicken as well.
Mm. And Mr. Ramkisoon, what do you think is the reason for this price increase? Because as I remember, we had one recently in April.
I agree. I can assure you that it's not the poultry farmers. It's not the ones who, the farmers on the ground raising the price. Um, I have heard several reasons. One being the war in Ukraine having an effect on us on the grain and the wheat, so we don't have the feed uh, flexibility that we would normally have. So there's an increase in price in the feed. But also, I understand that we have a general shortage that we can't deal with the current demand for chicken. So the demand being so high and the supply being where it is, the prices are allowing it to reach this sort of, I would say, scary level now. Because when you country's cheapest protein should be chicken, and it's now comparative to prices of pork and beef. When you check it out, $17 a pound. That's really, really high in consideration to what you would normally pay before. $13, $12.50, something that's affordable.
Mm. So I think I saw something that you were talking about, Mr. Ramkisoon, where you said rather than getting 3 whole chicken for 100, now you're going to get 2?
Well, you hopefully will get two, because I spoke to two pluck shop owners yesterday, and it's sometimes now a 3 pound chicken is $55 on the counter. So
Mm.
the idea of getting two chicken for $100 may not even be um, a factor anymore because of the costs and the availability as well. Um, Poultry shops that are requesting chicken every day will normally take 500 or 600 birds. Sometimes they're not getting any. Sometimes they are told instead of 600, you're only able to get 200. So this leaves the pluck shops in a very precarious position, because now what they were accustomed to doing, they are not allowed to currently have the numbers to do it. So I mean, their cost is the same, rent and paying employees and so on remain the same. So it's really a strange position to be in for them. Also, I don't understand why we would have an increase again, since no other factors have increased. We didn't have an increase in minimum wage. We didn't have an increase in electricity. We didn't have an increase in anything else. So it's really important now for the poultry producers to come out and say what was the reason for the increase.
So, Mr.
Because
Ramkisoon, if I'm hearing you correctly, so then the poultry farmers, they don't get any sort of benefits from this increase.
no, we don't. Poultry farmers in this country, we don't benefit from an increase in the price of chicken on the open market. Um, if you go to a poultry farmer's compound and ask him to sell you chicken, he can't because he does not own that chicken.
I'm
So
confused. How is it that he doesn't own the? I'm confused.
in Trinidad, most of the poultry farming is conducted via something called a contract farm or a contract basis,
Mm-hmm.
where the processors provide you with the chicken and you basically house them to the desired weight, and then you are paid via a contract arrangement back to the processor.
So, Mr.
So
Ramkisoon,
you are not the
in this case, sorry, continue. Mm-hmm.
no, no, that so all the chicken that you are growing on your farm as a poultry farmer goes directly to the contract person that you sign the contract with.
Right.
You are
So
not allowed
then,
to sell any of that chicken for your to cover costs or anything. All the chicken has to go back to the contract, the person you sign the contract with.
so for example, the processors that you're talking about, are those the big companies such as Nutrimix and Arawak?
That's correct.
Okay. So then the poultry farmer will sign a contract with them, and then you would grow the chickens for them and give it back to them, and then give it to the pluck shops as well?
No, they determine where the chicken will go from your farm.
Ah, okay.
So so they will sell it to they will sell to the pluck shops directly, and then they will take the birds to their processing facilities as desired on their, I guess, their demand and supply.
Mm. But I mean, as the president of the association, Mr. Ramkisoon, is there any way that you can lobby so that at least some of the funds will be trickled down to the poultry farmers?
But this is where it gets a little challenging for poultry farmers. The poultry industry falls under the Ministry of Trade, but a poultry farmer's line minister is the Minister of Agriculture. Now, in the past, when we've tried to have meetings to sit down to try and deal with this, the Minister of Agriculture would say, well, this does not fall under my purview. And if you get the opportunity to speak to the Minister of Trade, they will tell you that they can't get involved in private contracts with individuals. So it's really a little challenging position for a poultry farmer to be in. What I would like for the government to do is basically get all the stakeholders to sit down and see if we could help reduce the cost of chicken for the public by some measure of coming together. Because when you think about chicken being at $17 a pound, it really is going to be very difficult for people to afford chicken. I believe that if the stakeholders sit down and the companies sit down together, we may be able to work out something where the farmer benefits as well, and we may be able to help lower the cost of feed, and see if we can put some incentives in place for the poultry farmers and even the poultry processors to help keep the price of chicken down.
But Mr. Ramkisoon, so first, you're saying that you want dialogue with the ministers, of course, to work on this problem. But in the interim, is there anything that the association can do to sort of buffer this increase or even a further increase that may come down the line?
At the moment, there is no quick remedy. Unfortunately, because of how the poultry industry is run in Trinidad and Tobago, we tend to import our eggs to create the baby chicks. And we also have to just hope that the international supply allows us the amount of baby chicks that the country requires. Trinidad eats a lot of chicken. Um, uh, I believe that we eat close to 800 to a million heads of chicken a week. Um, so when you think about that type of numbers, it will tell you that we really are dependent on chicken as a country. Um, in terms of a quick fix, there's nothing like that in the poultry industry because it takes 6 weeks to grow one batch of chicken. And unfortunately, because the farming community is getting smaller and not getting larger, um, the industry is shrinking a little bit in terms of handling the nation's demand, I think, as well.
Mm.
Um, we need to figure out a way as well as hopefully with the government and these other stakeholders to figure out how to make poultry farming attractive again for more people to get involved in it as well. But there's no quick fix. Hence the reason I would like immediate dialogue to try and see what can be done to lower the price in the interim, because that's the quickest way. First, have a discussion and see how best we can mitigate these increases.
Mr. Ramkisoon, finally, I mean, are there any other alternatives you would suggest to chicken, or is it that customers should just, hold out and see, how best they can afford it?
Well, unfortunately, the Trinidadian palate has not warmed up to eating things like rabbit, you know, as I mean another source of protein. We tend to treat rabbit like how we treat duck, an occasional thing, something different. But we always go back to being eating poultry or eating chicken because it's convenient and it can be cooked several ways. And the versatility of chicken is, not a lot of meat has that versatility. Um, so it's a little difficult for us in terms of alternatives, in terms of
Mm.
chicken. I really can't see us making that switch at the moment. I mean, it's also healthy for us to eat less meat, but also again, we need the protein for the energy to carry out through the day.
I heard you laugh, Mr. Ramkisoon, and nowhere in there you mentioned soya.
No, no, and while I endorse people eating less meat and having their vegetarian options,
Yes.
um, I think a lot of the society as well, while they may eat it once, it's not going to be an option to be doing 6 days a week or 4 days a week. Let's think about it. Um, First, they've eaten close to 800,000 heads of poultry a week. You think about that as a nation, you know. Um, 1.5 million people are eating 800,000 heads a week. KFC, Chinese food, all of these places, you know. Um, it's really we really are a nation that consumes a lot of chicken because again, the versatility and the cook time and all these other things, when you think about it. And when you think about chicken reaching $17 and $18 a pound, you also have to think about what it affects afterwards. Roti price going to go up, um, the barbecue man going to go up. All these foods that tend to sell during the working hours, and even the shift workers who going to work for 10.
Right.
That's the quickest thing for them to pick up a box of chicken and fries or something like that. And when those things start to go up, it really affects the entire country.
Point taken, Mr. Ramkisoon, no problem. Thank you so much for joining us on Now and just sharing a little bit about
Thank you
what's
for
going
having
on in
me.
the industry and, how the dialogue, hopefully, that we need in order to have a standard price for something so essential. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and you all have a great day. And thank you all very much for bringing the spotlight onto this issue.
No problem. Have a good one as well. And that was Mr. Sudesh Ramkisoon, the president of the Broiler Growers Association, just sharing his thoughts on the increase in prices and, of course, the shortage in chicken. Here on the Now Morning Show, we're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.